It is 3 a.m. The room is dark. The house is quiet. Everyone around you is asleep. And your brain, the same brain that was perfectly functional 12 hours ago, has decided that right now is the ideal momento remind you of every mistake AO have ever made, every embarrassing memory, every unfinished conversation, every worry you successfully ignored during the day, every fear you buried under busyness. They are all here now, at 3 a.m., uninvited, relentless. And the harder you try to stop thinking, the louder everything gets. You lie there staring at the ceiling wondering why your mind seems to actively work against you at the exact moment you need it most. This is not weakness. This is not anxiety disorder. This is not you being broken. This is your brain doing something it was specifically designed to do at a time when the conditions make it completely unavoidable. And once you understand the science behind exactly why this happens, you will never lie awake at 3 a.m. feeling alone in it again. To understand why the brain attacks at 3 a.m., you first need to understand what it is doing during the day. During waking hours, your brain is constantly receiving an overwhelming volume of input, tasks, conversations, decisions, notifications, responsibilities, distractions. This constant flow of external stimulation does something very specific. It suppresses every worry, fear, unresolved emotion and uncomfortable thought that exists in your mind. It's pushed to the background by the sheer volume of present demands, not resolved, not processed, suppressed. Think of it as a pressure valve. During the day, the valve stays closed because the system is too busy processing everything else. Psychologists call this cognitive load displacement, the brain's tendency to prioritize immediate, concrete, external demands over internal emotional processing. This is why busy people often describe feeling fine during the day but falling apart at night. They were not fine during the day. They were too occupied to notice they were not fine. The moment the external stimulation stops, the moment the distractions disappear and the room goes dark and quiet, the pressure valve opens, and everything that was waiting comes through at once. At 3 a.m., there are no distractions, no tasks, no notifications, no conversations to redirect your attention. Just you and everything you have been avoiding. Here is where the science becomes genuinely fascinating. Your body runs on a hormonal cycle called the circadian rhythm. Most people know this as their sleep-wake cycle. But what most people do not know is that cortisol, your primary stress hormone, follows a very specific pattern within that cycle. Cortisol levels are at their lowest in the early hours of sleep, roughly the first half of the night. But around 3 to 4 a.m., the body begins preparing for waking. Cortisol levels start rising, not dramatically, not enough to wake you under normal circumstances, but enough in a person whose nervous system is already sensitized to stress to shift the brain from deep sleep into a lighter, more alert state. In that lighter state, the prefrontal cortex, your rational, problem-solving brain, is not yet fully online. But the amygdala, your brain's threat detection center, is highly active. This creates a very specific neurological condition. Your threat detection system is running at full power. Your rational thinking system is still half asleep. The result, every thought feels more threatening than it is. Every worry feels more catastrophic than it is. Every problem feels more unsolvable than it is. Because the part of your brain that would normally contextualize, rationalize, and calm those thoughts is not awake enough to do its job. You are experiencing the world through your fear center alone. And at 3 am, the fear center has the floor entirely to itself. Remember the Zeigarnik effect, the brain's tendency to keep unfinished tasks in active working memory? At night, this effect reaches its peak. During the day, new tasks, new inputs, and new demands constantly interrupt and redirect brain's processing of open loops. But at night, with no new input arriving, the brain does what it was designed to do with unfinished business. It works on it. Every unresolved conversation, every unmade decision, every unprocessed emotion, every worry that was deferred with the silent promise, I will deal with this later. Later is 3 am. The brain is not torturing you at night. It is doing its maintenance work, the processing it could not complete during the noise of the day. The problem is, this maintenance work feels indistinguishable from torture when you are lying in the dark with no ability to act on anything. Because the brain generates the thoughts without providing the resolution, it surfaces the unfinished business. But at 3 am, you cannot send the email. You cannot have the conversation. You cannot solve the problem. You can only think about it, over and over. In the dark, while cortisol quietly rises, while the amygdala runs unchecked, while the prefrontal cortex sleeps. This is the architecture of 3 am anxiety, not a malfunction. A perfect storm of biological systems doing exactly what they were designed to do at the worst possible time. Not everyone lies awake at 3 am. Some people close their eyes and do not open them until morning. Why? The difference is not strength. It is not discipline. It is not a better life with fewer problems. It is nervous system baseline. A nervous system that developed in a predictable, emotionally safe environment, one where needs were consistently met, emotions were regularly processed, and safety was reliably present, has a lower resting level of cortisol, a lower sensitivity to threat signals, a greater capacity to let thoughts pass without attaching to them. A nervous system that developed in an unpredictable, stressful, or emotional intense environment has a higher resting cortisol baseline, a more sensitive amygdala, a greater tendency to treat uncertain thoughts as genuine threats. This is why people with histories of anxiety, trauma, emotional neglect, or chronic stress experience 3 am differently than people without those histories. Their nervous systems are not overreacting. They are reacting exactly as they were calibrated to a level of threat signal that other nervous systems simply do not register as loudly. The 3 am brain attack is not a personality flaw. It is a nervous system doing the only thing it was ever taught to do. There is one more layer to the 3 am experience that makes it uniquely punishing: the spiral. It works like this. A thought arrives, an uncomfortable one, a worry, a memory, a fear. Under normal daytime conditions, the prefrontal cortex evaluates it, contextualizes it, and either processes it or files it away. At 3 am, the prefrontal cortex is compromised. So instead of being evaluated, the thought is felt, fully, physically, immediately. The body responds to the thought as if it were a real present threat. Heart rate increases slightly. Breathing becomes shallower. Muscle tension increases. These physical responses are then detected by the brain, which interprets them as confirmation that something is genuinely wrong, which produces more anxious thoughts, which produce more physical responses, which the brain interprets as more confirmation. The spiral tightens. And the harder you try to stop it, the more attention you give the thoughts, the more fuel you add to the cycle. This is why telling yourself, just stop thinking about it, at 3 a.m. is the single least effective strategy available. You cannot think your way out of a state your body has entered. You have to work through the body first, and then the mind follows. Strategy 1. The body first rule ***, because 3 a.m. anxiety is a physical state, not just a mental one. The intervention must begin in the body. Slow your exhale. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 2. Breathe out for 6 counts. The extended exhale activates parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system, which directly counteracts the cortisol-driven stress response. 3 cycles of this measurably reduces amygdala activation. You are not calming your thoughts. You are changing the neurochemical environment in which those thoughts exist. ***, Strategy 2. The cognitive offload ***. Keep a notebook beside your bed. When a thought arrives at 3 a.m, write it down, not to solve it, not to analyze it, simply to transfer it from active working memory to an external location. Research shows that writing down an intrusive thought reduces its cognitive load significantly because the brain no longer needs to keep it active to prevent losing it. You are telling your brain, I have recorded this. You can let it go now. The Zeigarnik effect works in both directions. Writing closes the loop temporarily, giving the brain permission to release the tension of keeping it open. Strategy 3. The scheduled worry window ***. One of the most evidence-backed interventions for nighttime anxiety is something called worry postponement. During the day, set aside 15 minutes specifically for worrying. A dedicated time window where you sit with your concerns, write them down, and think through them deliberately. When worries arrive at 3 a.m., your brain already knows there is a scheduled time for them. You can say, I have a time for this. It is not now. Research by Penn State psychologist Michelle Newman showed that worry postponement rated nighttime anxiety significantly in participants within 2 weeks. Not because the worries disappeared, because they had a designated home that was not 3 a.m. ***, Strategy 4. Stop fighting the wakefulness ***. This is counterintuitive. The anxiety of being awake at 3 a.m. is often made significantly worse by the anxiety about being awake at 3 a.m. I need to sleep. I have to be up in 4 hours. Why can't I just sleep? This secondary anxiety about the anxiety, adds a second layer of cortisol on top of the first. Sleep researchers call this sleep performance anxiety. The intervention: stop trying to sleep. Instead, rest. Tell yourself, I do not need to sleep right now. I only need to rest. Lying still with my eyes closed is already restoring my body. This removes the performance pressure, which removes the secondary anxiety, which, paradoxically, makes sleep significantly more likely to arrive. The next time you find yourself lying awake at 3 a.m., with your brain running at full speed in the wrong direction, remember this: your brain is not broken. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do, surfacing unfinished business, scanning for threats, processing what the day did not have time for. The timing is terrible. The experience is exhausting. The thoughts feel more real and more catastrophic than they actually are, because the part of your brain that would normally tell you that is still half asleep. You are not weak for experiencing this. You are human, with a nervous system that is trying to protect you, even at 3 a.m., even when protection feels like attack. Even when the threat is only a thought in a quiet, dark room. The work is not to silence the brain. The work is to understand it. And understanding, even at 3 a.m., changes everything. If this video explains something you have experienced but never understood, like it and subscribe to Psychora, because your brain deserves to be understood, not just survived.